Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. And Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be basically an update on what's happening with these, high fuel prices since Iran basically shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And basically, this division between the U.S. and the rest of the world. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will you're edified. It says, Trump tells allies facing high fuel prices to get your own oil from Strait of Hormuz. Said the hard part is done, the president said, as he urged countries like the United Kingdom to build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just take it. So hang on, X out of that. Says the average price of gasoline in the U.S. passed $4 this morning for the first time since 2022. It comes as a tanker laden with oil was hit by Iranian attack off Dubai, with Tehran's grip on the crucial Strait of Hormuz trade route stoking a global economic crisis that has already sent energy prices soaring. Says President Donald Trump has urged allies who didn't join the war but are facing fuel shortages to build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just take it. The United States won't be there to help you anymore, he said, adding that Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. And this just goes to show how proud this devil is. Because first of all, Iran has not been essentially decimated, not by a long shot. So that's a bunch of BS. Just a bunch of U.S. Edomite propaganda and lies. And Trump has the audacity to say that the United States won't be there to help you anymore, all because these other countries didn't want to get involved in this illegal war that the U.S. started alongside Israel. And if you really look at it, there's no way that Iran has been decimated because Trump is sending more and more troops over there. So if Iran's been decimated and the U.S. has been victorious, then why are you sending in more soldiers? What is the need for that? You see, that's the definition right there of Trump. Says one thing, does the opposite. He's telling you one thing, but he's doing the opposite of what he's telling you. And the thing is, he's only speaking to his mindless supporters who just believe everything that he says. Because basically the rest of the world can see that the war in Iran is not going the way that the U.S. and Israel, Trump and Netanyahu thought that it was going to go. The U.S. is not winning this war. So all of this, him saying, oh yeah, build up some courage and just go to the strait and take the oil. He's trying to gaslight these other countries into getting involved in this war. He's trying to find some way to get them involved. Because if these other countries sent some ships out there to the strait, then Trump would try to spin it and be like, see, they've decided to join us against Iran. Like, he tried to make it seem like these other countries were sending ships into the Strait of Hormuz to help the US and Israel, when in reality, that's not what they would be trying to do. If they were to do that, which it would not be a smart idea, but hypothetically, if they were to do that, it would just be because, they just want some oil from Iran. They're not trying to go to war with Iran. They don't have any beef with Iran. So they wouldn't be going there to fight Iran. But you see, these Iranians, they don't trust anybody. They know that Canada, they know that the UK, they know other countries are allies of America. So if they see any of those warships around, they're going to bomb them because they don't trust anybody. But Trump having the audacity to tell these other countries to build up some delayed courage after he done put tariffs on them, disrespected these other countries' leaders. In some cases, even talked about basically taking over these other countries. And now he's pissed off because they don't want to help him fight a war, an illegal war, mind you, that him, along with Netanyahu, started. And that's why America's own allies are turning against her. America is going to be left all by itself alongside Israel. And both of them are going to get decimated when the Lord allows World War III to go full blown and those nuclear missiles fly. Majority of those nuclear missiles are going to be aimed right at America and Israel, the two most wicked places on the planet right now. Says Trump threatened to destroy Iran's water and energy infrastructure if a deal to end the war and reopen the key trade route isn't reached soon. He said the U.S. was negotiating with Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, who has denied talks and threatened American troops. Yeah, so this is exactly what I was talking about. How in the world could Trump be threatening to destroy Iran's water and energy infrastructure if a deal to end the war and reopen the key trade route isn't reached soon, but at the same time, he's saying that the U.S. has basically already won? Iran's been decimated. If they've been decimated and you've already won, then what do you need to be making a deal for? If you've decimated them and you've already won, then why isn't the Strait of Hormuz open? Because the war is not won. The U.S. did not win anything. To be honest with you, the U.S. troops that are out there are getting their ass handed to them. And the more soldiers that Trump sends in, the more bodies are going to drop. Trump is basically just sending them there to die. And even Iran leaders have said that. They said if you keep sending these troops, they're going to die. You put boots on the ground, they're going to die. Like those Iranians are letting you know what it is. So Trump's sitting here talking about, that the U.S. has won the war basically, and essentially Iran has been decimated and all of this nonsense. Anybody with eyes to see can tell that that's the farthest thing from the truth. It's just typical Edomite, so-called white behavior, just lying. Trump is a liar. Netanyahu is a liar. Caroline Levitt is a liar. J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, they're both liars. It's just a whole bunch of Edomite liars. That's all they are. And that's all they know how to do. Because they are desperate to continue to paint the picture that so-called white people are the best and everybody that has brown skin is just horrible. And they're monsters and they're terrorists and just all the bad stuff. And they're criminals and just all the bad stuff. But the whole world sees who the true enemy is. And it's these pale people. It says videos geolocated by NBC News show intense overnight explosions, sending a fireball into the sky above Iran's central city of Isfahan. As U.S.-Israeli attacks continue, the city is home to one of Iran's main nuclear sites. It says more than 3,000 people have been killed across the Middle East, which is Western Asia. It says in Iran, Israeli and American strikes have killed more than 1,900 people, according to the country's deputy health minister. At least 1,200 people have been killed in Lebanon, and 19 have died in Israel. 13 U.S. service members have been killed, and 2 more died of non-combat causes. And in Israel and with the U.S. service members, a lot more of them have died. But like I said, when you're dealing with Edomites, when you're dealing with so-called white people, all they're going to do is lie. They're going to skew the numbers to make you think that Iran is losing way more people than the U.S. service members and the Israeli soldiers, or, just, Israeli civilians as well, because as we know, Iran and Israel are very close, so Iran can hit Israel, unlike how Iran can't hit the U.S., at least the mainland. But with Iran launching missiles at American army, or not army, military bases in the region and striking those, a lot more U.S. service members have been killed. It's not 19, it's now, or 13 as they say. It says 19 have died in Israel, 13 U.S. service members have been killed. It's a lot more than that. A lot more than 19 people have died in Israel, and a lot more than 13 U.S. service members have been killed in this war. But they have to lie to you because they have to make you believe that they're winning this war. If they gave you the real numbers of how many people have died in this war that they started, a lot more people would be very pissed off. Because majority of Americans are already pissed off because they're like, this was never our war. This was Israel's war. Israel started this war. Israel, those Edomites out there, those so-called white people, those fake Jews out there, they want to take over all of the quote-unquote Middle East, which is occupied by a bunch of brown people, whether they're in Iran, Palestine, Iraq, Afghanistan. There's a bunch of brown-skinned people. And all of these people are basically enemies of Israel. So what Israel is trying to do, what those Edomites in Israel are trying to do, they're trying to wipe out all the brown people that surround them. And they want to take over all of Western Asia, what they refer to as the Middle East. But Israel, at Netanyahu, tried to spin it and say, oh, that's what Iran wants to do. Iran wants to, wipe out Israel and take over, the Middle East. And it's like, no, that's what you want to do. But because these Edomites, who are never on the right side of history, and they never have been, and they never will be, because they don't want anybody to look at them as the bad guy that they are. They're basically putting their agenda on Iran and on all of these brown people that surround them. They're saying, oh, Iran wants to do this thing, when in reality, Israel wants to do it. And they'll sit here and they'll say, oh, Iran is talking about death to Israel and death to America. And it's like, yeah, I don't blame them for saying that, because look at all the wickedness and the crimes against humanity and the atrocities that both Israel and the U.S. have caused for decades. Because that's what these Edomites, these so-called white people, in particular the so-called white man, this is what they do. They go throughout the world, rape, robbing, murdering, colonizing, starting wars, stealing people's lands, doing their typical colonizing behavior. They have the audacity to attack people and then call those people that they attack terrorists and monsters and criminals. The so-called white man is the biggest criminal. Always has been, always will be. He's the biggest terrorist, the biggest rapist, the biggest pedophile, the biggest murderer, the biggest criminal, the biggest scumbag. So-called white people are the problem in the world. And the world will be better off when the Lord gets rid of them. And that's going to happen a lot sooner rather than later. But yeah, ultimately, there's a lot of division happening, because the whole world is turning against the U.S. and Israel, because look at all the chaos that's happening as a result of this illegal war. It's a global economic crisis going on right now because of all these fuel shortages due to this war. So everybody's condemning the U.S. and Israel, which in a nutshell, everyone is condemning these Edomites. Luke 12:51, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth? I tell you nay, but rather division. And that's clearly what the Lord is doing. Because the world was already pretty divided against the U.S. and Israel. With Trump being disrespectful to America's allies, whether they be in Canada, the UK, or anywhere else, calling them weak, calling them cowards, putting tariffs on them. He was talking about basically invading and taking over Canada. Just all sorts of just disrespectful stuff. And then, he disrespects China, he disrespects Russia, he disrespects Japan, he disrespects everybody. He disrespects everybody, all of these other nations. And then, him and Netanyahu got the U.S. and Israel into this war that they know they can't win. And they're begging for these other countries that they've demonized and disrespected to come help. And rightfully so, these other leaders, the leaders of these other countries are telling them, no, we're not going to get involved and help you fight this illegal war. First of all, because it's an illegal war. And second of all, because all you've done is disrespect us. You slapped tariffs on us. You talked about taking over our countries. You disrespected the leaders of these different countries. Slovakia about that. Anyway, I forgot where I was. Yeah, so anyway, um, yeah, so basically Esau over here, Trump, he's disrespected all these other nations. He's disrespected their leaders. He's disrespected their country in general. He's talked about taking over, like basically invading these other countries and taking them over. Just all sorts of wickedness. And now he wants those same people that he's disrespected to help. And it's like, no. You fight this fight that you started. And not only that, not only are America's own allies turning against her and Israel, but here in America, the majority of the citizens here are against this government and this wicked establishment. So it's like it's just everybody's divided against the US and Israel. The Lord himself, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, is against the US and Israel. And the Lord is going to nuke both of these wicked places right off the face of the earth. So that statement that Iran makes when they say death to America and Israel, that's a true statement, because the Lord is going to do that. He's going to bring death to the US and Israel via those nuclear missiles when he allows this world war when he allows this world war to go full blown. America doesn't have allies anymore because you demonized and disrespected all your allies. So America's on its own because Israel does not care about America. Netanyahu is only using the US military to primarily fight this war for them, because Israel knows that they can't fight Iran one-on-one. They knew they would get decimated if that happened. So they had to drag America into it. And now here we are. So at the end of the day, there's no one to blame for what's happening. The global economic crisis that's happening due to this war. There's no one to blame for it except for the US and Israel, Trump and Netanyahu. They're the two people to blame. Once again, the so-called white man creates a problem and everybody's getting affected by it. And yet, he's trying to demonize everybody else and make it their fault. He's trying to demonize Iran for shutting down the Strait of Hormuz when that was just a strategic move on their end. He's trying to demonize Iran for defending themselves against these illegal US and Israel attacks. He's demonizing these other countries like the UK and Canada and Italy, Germany, France, who don't want to send their soldiers to go die in this illegal war. Proverbs 16 and 18 says, pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. And Donald Trump and American Edomites in general are the most proud people you will ever come across. And they're proud for no damn reason. All they've ever done is wickedness. There's nothing about that to be proud of. And that pride that they have, that pride, that arrogance, all that boasting and disrespecting that they've been doing for decades and centuries, it's about to come back and royally bite them in the ass when the Lord allows these other nations to nuke this place and wipe this place off the face of the earth. And we're getting to that point. We're getting very close. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And Tawadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for allowing myself and all you sincere brothers and sisters to be alive in this time to witness the downfall of our enemy, the so-called self-proclaimed white man who is an Edomite. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are still fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. And shalom to all the sincere believers, which is the Akwa, the sincere sisters, and the scattered Israelites who are amongst these other nations and look like these other nations. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah, which means Lord's will. Until next time, Shalom.